Hello again. This is just going to be a quick video update to show you what I've done before I move on to the next stage. So last time I left you, I had put fiberglass on top of here and put the foam on there, put the fiberglass on there, and left it there, smoothed it out as best as I could. I was going to stop there and, the next day or two continue on. Then I checked the weather forecast, and it was in the afternoon, and the weather forecast was that it was going to rain starting at 3 a.m. And continue to rain. So my choice was to do something or wait several days before I can do anything. So being me, I decided I would do something. And that something was, I went in and took my 30 grit, 40 grit, and 80 grit sandpaper and all of the different sanding things that you've seen me use, and I smoothed out the fiberglass. Once I did that, I went in after that and put on a spray can of primer. I have some spray primer. It happens to be lacquer. When you're looking at primer to use for this stuff, if you look at the directions, yeah, actually read the directions. If you read the directions and it says that you can recoat it anytime, that means it's lacquer. That means that whatever the solvent is in it evaporates real quickly in air, and you can sand it and finish it immediately. If you read the other stuff that says either recoat within an hour or wait 24 hours or 48 hours, that's not lacquer. You don't want to use that because it's not made to be sanded on immediately. So anyway, I sprayed on the lacquer, got it smooth, filled in the sanding scratches mostly. Then I decided, well, as long as I'm doing that, I might as well put some color on it. So I went ahead and I've been using this paint and primer in one. Again, not the best stuff to use, not automotive quality, but for what I'm doing, I don't care. The other stuff, I'll show you the other stuff. It may cause an issue of being gummy when it cures or dries, don't know. Anyway, so then I went in and sprayed it on top of here. Well, when I sprayed it, all of the sanding scratches that I couldn't see in the primer started showing up in the paint. I'm not sure if, yeah, you can kind of see them here maybe. See all those sanding scratches right there? That's because I used really coarse sandpaper to do that. So as I sprayed, I noticed that those sanding scratches were appearing. I had a choice. I could stop, wait for it to cure, which again was 2 days, or I could just keep on spraying and fill in the sanding scratches with paint and primer. So I decided to do that. So I went ahead, kept on spraying and filled it in to where when I was done, it was a nice glossy surface. It did have some sags and runs, but I expected that because I was purposely overspraying the paint. You really should spray a bunch of light layers. I didn't. I just said, I want this thing to be as smooth as I can get it. So there were actually some runs and drips in it. I expected that. So then I came out this morning and it's had a day and a half to cure. Kind of rushing things again. So then what I did was I said, okay, now I'm going to smooth this out. I didn't want to touch it with the 30 grit, the 40 grit, or the 80 grit because it would put sanding scratches. The next grit that I happen to have is 180 grit, and I have it on a board right here. So that's what I did, is I went in here and sanded this with 180 grit. And I sanded it till it became relatively smooth. There's some spots I skipped. Again, I'm not trying to get this perfect. I just wanted to see what I had. I sanded it until I started sanding through to primer. And that lets me know that the paint's really thin right here. In fact, there's no paint right there, but it's going to be thin around here. So it got rid of all of the high spots and got it relatively flat and level. All right. Now, when I sprayed it first, it was gloss that night. But if you have moisture, rain, or even high humidity in the air, it takes the gloss out of these spray paints like this. And it probably does automotive paint. I'm not positive because I rarely use automotive paint. I leave that to the professionals. But anyway, just a warning that if it is high humidity, you will not be able to get a gloss surface. You'll get a semi-gloss surface out of it. And that's what you have over here. You can see that it's orange, but that's definitely not shiny. You can't see any reflection in it, anything like that. All right, this part right here would look a lot nicer if it was sunny. Like I said, it rained and it's overcast today, And in fact, it rains so much that I've got a really flat, level yard. And when it rains a whole lot, it makes puddles that stay for a while. In fact, I left these containers sitting out, and you can see the water level in this. If you look at it, it rained a good 4 inches, maybe 5 inches, something like that. So it rained a lot. Anyway, neither here nor there. Okay, so then what I did was I said, okay, I've got it flat and smooth. I sanded it with 180. I could have gone on and sanded it with 320 and 600 if I was in the mood to do that. I'm not. So then what I did, I skipped like 5 steps. Said, you know what? I've got some of that spray wax stuff. What happens if I put that spray wax stuff on here? So first I did it by hand. It did okay. I have the stuff, I've done paint jobs before, real paint jobs. So I have the stuff to do real paint jobs. So there's my buffer. So I sprayed that on there and buffed it. So now you can see that, again, if this was a sunny day, I think that thing would be really shiny. You can see, if you look, you can see it's pretty close. See, you can see the reflection of the tree over there. So, and again, this color, this orange is not the best color to use, but. So what I want to do though, is I want to see what the shape looked like. Okay, and the shape looks pretty good. You can see some of the dull spots. Again, I wasn't going to spend a whole lot of time. If I wanted to, I would get some real wax, some real polish, smooth that out, gloss it up, and it would look like a finished paint job right there. But the surface isn't what I want, so there's no point in doing that. I just wanted to get an idea. One of the reasons I did that is because I'm not sure if you can see it in the picture, but there is a hump right here. Okay, and I'm not sure if the picture will show it. If you look, it's a little bit of a hump. Now, if you look at what I did, I put the foam up to this blue line right here, which would go right through here and right to there. Okay, and then over here. Okay, so, and you can see right there is the edge of the fiberglass that I went ahead and let it overlay. Okay, so that hump might have been in the original mold. I don't know. I bought these molds. They were not sold to me to be perfect. They were sold to me to be 80–90% correct. So that could be part of that 10–20% that needs to be done. I will know when I go ahead and do this side, and then I see what the whole surface looks like, because I have 2 choices with that hump there. I can either sand the hump down to match the area around it, or I can raise up the area around it to match the hump. At this point, it looks like it would be a whole lot easier just to sand that hump down, because the rest of the area looks pretty level. But if this side has that same hump, then that may change my mind. I may decide, you know what, all I really have to do is fill in between. Let's say there's a hump here and there's a mirror hump right here, then I would just have to fill in this area right here, make it smooth, so that's not a hump anymore. It would just make it to where it gradually raises and lowers. So again, I won't know until I do this side, which I will do in, I don't know, a week or so. We'll see. All right, all of that said, my next step is to do the exact same thing that I did here to the eyebrow, or actually the missing part of the eyebrow. All right, so you can see what I did on the outside here. It's basically the shape I want. I still need to put a skim coat of body filler in here. All of these black spots you see shouldn't be there, because those are low spots where when I sanded, it didn't sand them away because they're sunken down in. It looks worse than it is. If you feel these, you can't even feel these low spots, but they're there, obviously. Otherwise that black wouldn't be there. So again, a skim coat of filler on top of here, sand across it, and this will be ready to go. I was going to spray this upper area right here, but I ran out of paint, and it was late, and rain was coming, and I was tired. So, and the problem is I have to clean everything up at the end of the day, or else my neighbors get upset. So I decided I'd stop and clean everything up, and then by the time I did that, I didn't want it to continue. So what I'm going to do now is go get some more foam. The foam I have that pink stuff, but as you saw, the polyester resin eats that away. So I really don't want to use that. I mean, I could put tape and I could do stuff like that, so it would work, but I don't really want to do that. So I did look online, and supposedly Home Depot has that other foam that I did use here in an inch thickness. All right, so that would work here. I could use the thin stuff right here, but it's only a 1/2 inch thick. So that means there can't be any surface that's lower than a 1/2 inch, because otherwise I'll end up sanding through the foam when I get the contour the way I want it to look. That might work. A 1/2 inch might be enough, but I don't want to go through all that work and then end up sanding through and end up with something like this, where I've got a hole. These holes are really hard to fill. You really ideally need to be able to get to the back side, put fiberglass in there, and then come to the front side and put fiberglass and all of that. And there's a good chance if you've got something like this, it could come back later on if you don't do it exactly right. I also have a real thin spot sanded through right there. So rather than take that chance, I'm going to go buy some of that 1 inch thick foam. I will glue it to the surface here, and then I will obviously either have to space it up or stack 2 of them to get it to cover that area right in the middle there. It's more than 1 inch. It's probably closer to 2 inches. I won't know until I get that done. I could actually stick the pink foam underneath since I have it sitting around, glue it down, glue the tan colored foam on top of that. Again, doesn't matter one way or the other. I just need something there so that I can start shaping. So that's what I'm going to do. Go get some of that and shape it. I have to go to Home Depot. So between adding the filler, skim coated filler here, putting the foam on top of here, I will sand it just like I did over here. Then I will put the, again, I'll try to sand it, in that case, I'll try to sand it 1/10 of an inch lower than it needs to be, so that here, I'm gonna have a step right here. Oh, that was the other thing. Templates, make templates. If you're planning on doing this on 2 sides, which you almost always will, make templates. What happened was, you know, I went here and I purposely overran this edge, okay? But now I have to cut this off. I can't open the trunk. The trunk is fiberglassed shut. It's not actually fiberglass to the trunk, but there's a fiberglass lip here, and this trunk would not open. So I have to come in and cut this seam again. If I hadn't have made the template, I would be guessing at what does this curve look like as it goes across here. But because I made a template, I took the template, I set it on top of here, and then I took my Sharpie and marked a line across here. So now I come in with my multi-vibrating tool and I will cut along this line, and voila, I'll be able to open up the trunk and be able to see how bad this step is. There's going to be a step here, so I've got to decide first, how bad is the step? What do I want to do about it? I could just sand this flat right here. It would be kind of a quick transition between this and that, but at some point, you know, it's not going to matter. Or I could actually taper this whole thing down some more. Anyway, I'll cross that bridge when I get there. All right, let's see what else. I think that's it. So like I said, I'll put the foam on here. I'll put the fiberglass on top, sand it all smooth as it will get. Put a skim coat of body filler on it, sand that smooth, throw some primer on it, sand that smooth, throw some paint on it, sand that smooth, polish it all up. And this part of the car back here, it won't be done, but it'll be closer. Why am I doing all this? Well, here's the other issue. I've got to figure out what do I do where this eyebrow ends. Okay, there's a little bit of a hump right here, but there's also that thin spot right here. So I could sand this hump down, but there's a good chance that this whole area I'm going to end up sanding through. That would not be a good thing. Okay, the other thing is this edge right here. I need a definite transition here from the eyebrow to this flat surface over here. So the question is, if you can see, I have it drawn over here, but where it ended up landing just because of the pieces is right there. So there's a, what, 1.5 inch difference, 3 fingers, 1.5 inch difference there. So the question I have to answer is, do I want it to come way out here, or do I want it to stop there? And my answer is, I won't know until I put the rest of this eyebrow on and see what it looks like. If this eyebrow, if I continue the angle that's here, and it ends up, it's not going to, but let's say it ended up right there. Well, then obviously I wouldn't want the edge of the eyebrow back here to be way back here. If I followed this and it ended up way over here, then obviously, oops, I wouldn't want the edge of the eyebrow to be way over here. I won't know until I get that down So I am going to, like I said, that's going to be my next step, to go off and do that, see what it looks like, and then figure out what to do here. I may actually put some foam on top of here and reshape it, cover it with fiberglass, and do like I did with the rest of this, depending on how much I have to fill. I could just use body filler. I don't like to use body filler because it's really, really heavy. It's just something, even though I know I'm not going to leave it and use it forever, something bugs me about putting all that extra weight on top of this. All right, the other thing is, I'm not there yet, and it will probably be a couple of days. I've got to get this side running board piece done. I made a decision when I was doing this. Remember, I used that guttering. This right here, this piece is plastic guttering, and it worked really well. It's the shape I want. Not perfect, you know, and I have to use a whole lot of screws to get it to force it into the shape I want, and it's a little bit wavy right there. My choice was to either use the plastic as it was, or to make a piece of fiberglass off of that, use it as a mold, make a piece of fiberglass, and then put that fiberglass down. The advantage of using that fiberglass is it's not as flexible, so I wouldn't have that wavy edge. The fiberglass would be stiff enough that it wouldn't have allowed that to be a wavy edge. So now I have to decide, what do I want to do? I could go back, make another piece of this off of the guttering and replace this with that. Some shaping might have to be done. I'm not sure how much work that's going to be. The other option would be just go ahead and, what I was going to do, sand this edge, radius this edge, and blend this in so that it's smooth. Then I have to decide, what do I do about that wavy part right there, and what am I going to do? If you can see, that panel waves a little bit right there. Anyway, all of those little things, they have to be fixed. Now's the time where I have to start fixing all these little details. So I have to decide, what do I want to do? So let's look at this. All right, so if you look at this, it comes down, looks pretty good. Oops, then it bulges out right here, then it comes back in. So the question is, what do I want to do? Do I want to just push this back in and make that flat? Or do I want to raise, what do I want to do? There's a lot of options. I could build this up so that this thing slowly bulges and slowly comes back in. By the same token, I have to decide, what do I want to do about this edge right here? I could make this laser straight from the front all the way to the back, okay? And then the body has to do whatever it does, but that's going to leave a little bit of a step. If this was laser straight, there would be a step right here, you can see, right there. Okay, so I would have to make some kind of step right there. Is that going to add to the way it looks, or is it going to take away from the way it looks? Would I want it to be at a slight angle, or would I want it to be absolutely flat? Or would I want it to do like some of the other cars do, and they actually come in somewhere through here, and then they taper out where the rear wheel is? So let me go show you on the C8 what I'm talking about. So you can see here, if you look at how the side's done here, sticks out a little more at the very front, and then it slowly tapers in, and then at some point they say, oh, well, we're going to taper back out so that we can cover the rear wheels. So it's kind of an hourglass shape in the center, where it's narrower in the center. And in fact, if you didn't have this running board or lower valance or whatever, it would be very Coke bottle shaped. But again, some of the stuff they did, they made it straight right here. Why did they make it straight and make it Coke bottle shaped down there? I have no earthly idea. That makes no sense at all to me. But anyway, it's their choice. That's how they decided to design this car. And again, that's why I'm designing my own. Some of these things that they did, I don't think it adds to the car. I think it actually detracts from the look of the car. So I decided to do my own. All right, I thought this was gonna be a little shorter, but anyway, this is the plan. What's going forward? Go ahead, like, subscribe, hit that alert button, and I will see you next time. Bye.